Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Fantasy Show for week 13. I am joined by Byron this week, who is top of the league. We had him on with us in week 2, I believe. Of the Fantasy Show, you were our first ever guest on the show.
Yeah.
Welcome back, mate.
Thanks. It feels fantastic, especially now I'm doing a lot better.
Yeah, things have changed since I listened to that show back on my drive home from work today, just to see what sort of things we were talking about. Your season hadn't started off as strong as expected.
No.
And you're now top of the league. What do you think's changed?
Nothing's changed as such, I think. It's like in the NFL, you throw the first week away because everyone's just starting to play again, aren't they? So, I was speaking to Ben, who I played last week. I'm sure you'll probably bring that up later on. But I was speaking to Ben. It's not about the regular season, is it? It's about the playoffs. So week 1, it's a throwaway game. Doesn't matter. In the grand scheme of things, there's 14 other games. First game, throw it away. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, you've clinched a playoff spot. There's no way you can't be in the playoffs. As well as
made you all aware of that as well.
yeah, and the group chat, you made it very aware. You're on the hot streak at the moment. You have 4 wins in a row at the minute. You defeated Ben Pirate Bay last week, who has been at the top of the league all season.
Dismantled Ben.
How do you feel about dethroning him?
Dismantled Ben.
Okay.
Is the correct terminology. I said this last year though. He fell off last year. He started really, really well. He's gone for a lot longer this season. As much as I hate to say it because I'm giving him shit over text, I do think he will make the playoffs. But
he's made the playoffs. He's in.
Is he?
Yeah. So the top 3 people of yourself, Ben, and Adam have clinched the playoff berth. They cannot drop outside the playoffs.
That's disappointing.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't too bad, that the game I had against him, because I'm not going to lie to you, I was a bit wary when the Rams were playing and the Vikings were playing, as obviously I have Cooper Kupp and Justin Jefferson, and they both were sat on about 6 points for way into the second half, and I was feeling a bit apprehensive. But then I just thought to myself, right, I've got work tomorrow. I'm not going to watch the rest of this game. I'm just going to turn it off and see what happens in the morning. And ruined him, really. It didn't take too much work, to be honest.
It's been a bit of a different season for you this year. I know on the first show we spoke the fact that you draft really well and then you never really tamper too much on the waiver wire or get involved in any of that. But looking at this league this year, of the top 7 teams, you've made the most moves of everybody who's already currently in the playoffs, with 16 moves and 2 trades. Do you feel like you weren't happy with your team and made changes, or have you had injuries? What's the reason for the?
Who was the other trade? I know about the one with Tinch, but who was the other one?
I know it's 2 players because you got rid of 2 players.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. No, and to be honest, it's mainly been backups, because there's been better players as the season progressed for backups. I mean, I picked up Robbie Anderson. He hasn't seen the starting lineup. I picked up Eli Mitchell, traded for Eli Mitchell. I didn't play him last week, which didn't go very well. He scored 27 points, I think it was. But obviously, I picked up Matt Breeder as well. That was just because, obviously, as a fan of a team that a player's playing for, you know what's more likely going to happen. And I believe I drafted Devin Singletary, and he's done absolutely nothing for me. And I think that's it, really. I was saying that I dropped Greg Zerloin and picked up Daniel Carlson. I think he's the only one that started for me. And he's been fantastic. He scored me 20 points last week at kicker. So,
yeah, something that last 2 weeks for me, kickers have not been a good thing. I think my kicker, not last week, the week before, got me -1. So that did not go well. Unfortunately, someone is now eliminated from the playoff berth. That's Ben's Hawks. With 2 weeks left to play, he cannot make it. He made a fantastic last-ditch attempt during the last few weeks to try and get into those playoffs, but currently 4-8. You're going to need 7 wins to get into the playoffs, and he just can't make it. So unfortunately, Ben has not made it this year.
No, I like his team quite a bit, actually. It's a bit odd. I do.
Every guest that's been on has said they quite like his team, but
yeah, I feel quite sorry for him as well because he seems a bit forlorn on the group chat. He does. He's owning his terrible season. I'll give him that. But
yeah, I mean, his Seahawks aren't doing too well either.
No, they're not. They're really not.
Yeah, I played him this week just gone, and I wasn't looking forward to playing him, but lucky for me, the Panthers did nothing. So Cam Newton got benched, and Christian McCaffrey left the game with an injury. So unfortunately, so that went quite well for me because I am still in. That leaves me still in the hunt. But that moves me on to this week's fixture. I've got to play you.
Yeah.
Are you going to take it like the NFL, and now you're qualified for the playoffs, going to start resting players?
See, I could do if that had an effect on their overall fitness, but it doesn't, does it? And what does have an effect on me is cash money. I am very corrupt. I know you're the commissioner of the league, but that's the point as well. You can't. Well, you probably won't kick yourself out. So, I'm open to bribes. I am. I really am.
I thought about it, but it would not be in the right. You can't have your commissioner doing bribes behind the back and getting you to drop players or anything like that. I have to do it the right way. I think I've got the best chance of beating you in the Packers bye week, so you'll be lost minus Aaron Jones and Aaron Rodgers. So that goes well for me. But looking at the matchup, I am predicted a loss. It's not looking great.
No. And I didn't even need the wins at this point. It's just added bonuses. I've also got Robbie Anderson on a bye week. Don't forget that. He's a critical part of my team.
I mean, when we spoke in week 2 about our teams, and you dissected my team, and you thought it wasn't as bad as you expected. The only player you didn't like on my roster was James Conner. And that was, he's been absolute fantasy gold this year. So there was an error there. But for some reason, my guys just don't all want to do it on the same week. Because when you look at our lineups against each other, bar Cooper Kupp and Justin Jefferson for you, they're very evenly matched. I'd probably say I've probably got the better lineup this week. Just Cooper Kupp and Justin Jefferson for you, I think, are going to be the ones that need to keep quiet.
Yeah. But I was looking. I can't remember who the Rams are playing this week.
So the Rams have got the Jags, and the Vikings have got the Lions. So it's
See, that's well for me. It's just with that, it's not great for you. Because Cooper Kupp, I think I looked, and in week 10, I think it was, he'd already passed his fantasy points from last year. I haven't looked properly at it, but I don't think any other receiver is within about 30 points of him, which over however many games, 13 is it? That's quite a few points.
Well, really. Fingers crossed Van Jefferson and OBJ start to see a few more of the targets. I know OBJ had a good week last week. He was on my bench and scored 22 points, but hey-ho. We move on to our actual league itself. Every guest that's been on this week, you've probably listened to the show and heard, we have a real close league. You've definitely seen that. There is still 10 teams that could either qualify or not qualify. I'd say 9 of them are definitely in the mix. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams on 5 and 7, and 1, 2, 3 teams on 6 and 6.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts? which 2 weeks left. Which ones of these teams do you think are in? Which one of them do you think are out?
I quite like this question actually because it coincides with a point that I wanted to bring up at some point today, which is Tinch's fantastic season last year, and then whatever the fuck this season is. Because quite honestly, I thought he had a decent team at the draft. He's not here, so I'll talk shit about him. But Adam obviously Adam had his tongue so far up Tinch's bum that night. It was quite irritating actually. I do still quite like his team. Obviously, I've given him Van Jefferson. Probably a mistake in hindsight, maybe.
And Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet's been good the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, but the thing is, I still don't think Tinch will make the playoffs, so that's by the by, really. It's, I gave him Cole Kmet. I've got Mike Gesicki, so that tight end trade was fine for me. I was happy to ship him off. I don't think Tinch will make the playoffs. I think we scratch him. It's just not going well for him.
He's got a tough matchup this week. He's playing my dad. My dad is 6-6. So
I do like Trev for the playoffs as well.
So if my dad wins this week, I think that is pretty much Tinch eliminated, and that puts my dad into the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So the ones the next team's Rules Deep. Rules Deep is currently a 2-game losing streak. He's 13th at the moment. He's not got the good deciding factor when it comes up against the teams near the bottom.
Yeah, I haven't looked too much at Matt's team.
He's playing Adam this week, so he's got a very tough matchup as well.
Is it tough?
Well, Adam's 8-4. I'd say that's, if coming into this week you want to be playing your Tinches and your Johnnies.
Yeah, he's riding luck though, Adam is. Yeah, I mean like I say, I don't have it up in front of me either, so I can't. But with Matt, again, he's just seemed to be a bit unlucky with games this season. The ones I looked at earlier, his stood out to me as being rather close for quite a few of them. I don't know if I'm remembering him wrong. But
well, of the teams that are in the bottom 6, he's scored the 3rd least amount of points. So I'd say he is rightfully down the bottom for a reason. The only person that scored less than him for actual team score is Ben's Hawks, who are bottom, and the Justice League of Harambe, which is Dan, who has scored the least amount of points out of everyone, but 1 week he forgot to set his lineup. So scored like 30 points. So if we put a full score back in there for Dan, that would put Rules Deep as the 2nd lowest scoring team in the league. So you could argue that he is where he's supposed to be. Of the teams in this bottom 6, the team that has scored the most points out of everybody, let's say bottom 7, because Freddie's got the same score as us. I have scored the most points out of everyone.
Really?
Yeah, of the bottom 7 teams, I've scored the most, and by quite a decent margin. After me, it is Freddie, then Tinch, then Johnny, and then the guys that we spoke about.
Yeah, that surprises me because I know you've had a couple of big weeks, but you also had quite a few absolute shockers. That surprises me.
I can confirm for you. I've scored more than Dicko, who is in 4th. I've scored more than Adam, who is in 3rd. And I've scored more than my dad, who's in 6th. So are the people who are at the top. I'm the highest scoring team.
Okay. That does surprise me. That does surprise me. but it doesn't. Those stats are skewed because, like I say, you've had a couple of massive weeks and then a few absolute shockers.
Yeah, it's but we had those weeks in the middle where the NFL threw out the really dodgy results, and we saw some of the top seeded teams in the NFL lose, and everybody else's teams reflected that. We had a span of 3 weeks where scoring 100 was a good feat for 3 weeks, whereas usually you'd say you're definitely losing. You need sort of 130, 140 to even be talking about a victory. So
yeah.
I think it's been a bit of a weird one for fantasy, especially with those 3 weeks, the big teams losing. So I think that's what's sort of hidden the fact that I've had some poor weeks. But
yeah,
do you think I'll make it though?
Yes. Yes. Do you know who else I think I'll? I think, I hate to say it, but I think Johnny might sneak in.
Yeah,
I really do. And I think it may. It's not me being biased here, but I think with the important games that the Bills have coming up, I think that'll be on the back of Josh Allen.
Well, that will come down to the last game of the season then, because I play Johnny in the last game of the season. So it can only be, if we both win this week, it can only be one of us that goes through.
What about with any other results? Is it?
I mean, it'd be awfully. I think you've definitely got to get, because there's 3 teams on 6 and 6.
Yeah.
If any of them win a move to 7 and 6, all of us on 5 and 7 have got to win our last 2 games.
Yeah.
So I think you've got to win your last 2 games to qualify for the playoffs. So me and Johnny can't both win our last 2 games.
In that case, Johnny will go through because you won't win this week. So so you won't even get to next week for it.
Yeah, could be playing for the Sacco.
Yeah. I don't think you win the Sacco though. I think your team's good enough to not win the Sacco.
And the team hovering, I'm not sure how he's managed this. He's hanging on the bottom of the playoffs. Is Freddie?
Yeah, I'm absolutely sick of it. He's having a shit year. He really is, and I'm tired. I'm tired of the fact that he still has a chance to get into the playoffs, because if he doesn't, it'll be the greatest day of all of our lives. I think it will be.
So this is usually around the part of the time of the show where we talk about waiver claims and who you were looking at and who people have picked up and things like that. But it's got to that point in the season where people are comfortable with their team. The bye weeks are virtually out of the way, and nobody wants to make too many bold changes because the payoffs are so close. Bar Freddie, who has made loads of waiver claims this week. Is this just classic Freddie tinkering his way out of the playoffs?
Yes, and I think it's a bit of panic as well, because he's realised that he's not in the playoffs and he has to change something, because he's not in the top 8 at the moment, is he?
He is, yeah.
He's 8th.
He's 8th, yeah. He managed to leapfrog us all. He's gone up 3 spaces with his win. Bizarrely, yeah.
I think it still might be panic for the playoffs, because his team isn't doing that well. It's not.
Yeah, and he's got DeAndre Swift. He looks like he's not going to be playing. DJ Moore's on bye week. AJ Dillon's on bye week. Dalvin Cook's questionable.
Yes, it was the same sort of injury that he had last year. So they're hoping it'll be 1 to 2 games and then back for.
So he has had to. Well, he texted me during the week and went, "Mate, you've got loads of running backs."
He texted me as well.
Who do you want to trade for? And I was like, none of your team strengthens my team, mate.
That's exactly what I said to him as well.
And he went, "Oh, okay, don't worry about it. I picked Boston Scott and Philip Lindsay up off of the waivers." I think he's clutching at straws this week.
Yeah.
I think this could be his year. He slips out of the playoffs.
I really hope it is.
Yeah,
really hope
if
it
it
is.
carries on the way it is, he could be a guy that's in for the Sacco. If the injuries continue like that into the first couple of weeks, he'll be in that game. So
Yeah,
that could be very interesting.
yeah. But the thing with Freddie, he somehow rustles his way through these sort of things. So even if he does go to the Sacco, he's going to put up a 180-point performance just to embarrass whoever he's playing in the Sacco.
So he's going up against the Justice League for Rambe this week. They're 2 5-7 teams. Freddie has his full lineup set already, and he's set to score 92 points. Dan is missing 2 players from his lineup, yet to change his lineup completely. Got 2 people on bye. Currently predicted 80 points. You'd think that Dan's going to get the win this week.
You would have thought so. What positions is Dan missing?
Dan needs a running back. He needs to put in for Foreman, and a wide receiver. He needs to put in for Landry. I would guess he would put Stevenson in, maybe Williams in. And then as for his wide receiver, he'll just move Jones into his wide receiver out of his flex and bring another one of his running backs in. So he's got 18 points in 2 players sat on his bench waiting to go in there. So he's going to be predicted over 100 points. So
yeah, it's because again, I don't really like Fred's team. It's that's not even me being biased against Fred. There's just I don't think there's anyone because I played him a couple of weeks ago, but I remember when that game is on. I'm not too sure if there's anyone that stands out to me as a guaranteed big points every week, other than Dalvin Cook, who's now out. There's no DeAndre Swift. He's been good, but it's not consistent. For a running back of his caliber, anyway. Yeah, I think there's no one on Fred's team that I can sit there and go, right, he's gonna get.
Yeah, you said this in week 2. So you just reiterated what you said back then. I'd say the only person he's got dual threat, Kyler Murray, as his quarterback coming back. So I think that's the only place I can see area on his team that he might get some points, really. He's got Devonta Smith. Devonta Smith has those games where he can score 20, 30 points or score nothing. So he's got a big time player, but doesn't produce the goods. You need consistency in fantasy, and his team doesn't scream consistency to me. It's he tells me differently. Every week I speak to him, he's like, no, they're great players, and I'm like, he was like, I've proposed some trades and people won't trade with me. What do you think of these players I'm asking to trade? I'm going, I wouldn't trade with you. Like, that's not worth it.
No.
I think he tried to trade Hunter Henry or Noah Fant for Mike Williams the other day. And I was like, no one is doing that. Fred. He's like, they're equally as good as Mike Williams. And I was like, no.
No. Mike Williams is the number 2 receiver at the Chargers with Keenan Allen and Justin Herbert throwing to him. The Keenan Allen double covered. Who's he going to next? He's going to Mike Williams.
Yeah, Mike Williams had a good season. He's putting up the points. Who's putting Noah Fant in with Teddy Bridgewater or Drew Lock as the quarterback?
No.
Yeah, no.
Well, neither after last week. Neither Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater after last week.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that. So, is there any teams we haven't touched on? I think that they're the teams that are in there. The other one is Shank United, 6-6.
Yeah.
He's been up the top of the league all year, fighting out with you guys, but he's slipped off the radar.
Yeah, I tried to pay as little attention to Shank as possible because I can't beat him. that's the 3 years that I've been playing with it, I haven't beaten him once. So I sort of I take that loss at the start of each season and just sort of shove him over into the corner and forget about him.
When did you lose to him? What week did you lose to him?
Oh, I believe it was midway through the season. I think it was about week 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't seem to beat him, so I pay as little attention to Shank's team as possible. But he always has a solid team. He does. I think he'll start to pick up a bit more. And Stephon Diggs is getting gradually more and more targets each game. Maybe not this week again when Bills playing the Patriots though, because the weather looks absolutely shocking. Hence why I've popped Matt Breida, kept Matt Breida in the starting running back slot. But yeah, no, I like Shank's team. I've liked Shank's team since the start.
I think he just fell under a bit of an injury worry. He lost Lamar Jackson for a little bit.
Yeah.
He lost George Kittle for a little bit. I think he lost Damian Lewis, who's been solid running back for a little bit. So he's just had to alter little pieces. He's managed to pick up off the waiver wire well. But yeah, losing 3 names like that is always going to tarnish you in the middle of the season. I think that's where he lost. Yeah. We did talk about bogey players over the season with some of the lads. And it's nice to know that, you know, when I asked you in week 2, you were like, I'm happy to play anyone. There's no one of fear. I think we now know every year that person is going to be Nathan.
Yeah, but I go into it with some sort of blind optimism. I always go, when I've set my lineup, I go, yeah, this will be the year. This will be the year. I'm not bothered. And then I always lose to him. But like I say, one game, sack him off.
Yeah.
Once that game is done, I can get cracking.
So, you were very arrogant last time about this. Do you honestly believe your team is good enough, strong enough to get you that second title?
Yeah.
You believe obviously you're going to go back-to-back titles? You're going to join Freddie in the Hall of Fame of being won it the most?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because if you look at it, like I say, I dismantled Ben. That honestly, I don't think that was with the Titans defense getting me -2 points, and I left 27-point Eli Mitchell on the bench. I know he had DJ. No, it wasn't DJ Moore. It was Randall Cobb on the bench. But if we put all our high-scoring players in, he still couldn't have beaten me that week. Adams. I'm not going to go into Adams' team again. Uninspiring. I've said it from the start of the season. I said it to him the week we were playing each other. It's still the same. It's uninspiring. I'm not bothered about Adam at all. Shank, on the other hand, if he does get into the playoffs, I might be in a bit of trouble. But no, honestly, all of my players, bar James Robinson, all my players, bar my running backs, top 10 in their position.
Yeah, we spoke about this the other day, I think, when we were talking on Thanksgiving. We did have a quick chat about that, didn't we?
Yeah.
So, as I said, there's not much really we can digress with the season. We know roughly the standings. We spoke about the teams that are just on the edge. But let's talk about next year. There's been a lot of chat in the group about what we could do with the league next year. And there's been lots of rumblings of the fact that we could add 2 more teams, make it a 16-man league, and have divisions. Yeah. How do you feel about that?
I like it. I think I was the one that suggested it, actually. It was me. I suggested it. I like it. I need a new challenge.
Yeah. I mean, picking who goes into what division is going to be the...
No, geography. We've got it sorted. No, I like it because, you know, I know we've only got 14 teams now, but we all play each other once. And I feel like if it works out one year, there'll be some proper rivalries build up. As long as I'm not in the same division as Shank.
Well, surely that'd be the obvious pick to put in there with you.
No,
father and son.
No, we're doing it on geography. That's what I've decided as well. I'm going to personally work out the distance between everybody's houses, and whoever's the closest to each other gets slapped in a division together.
Well, I think that'd see Adam and Freddie in the same league.
Yeah, absolutely fine by me. They can both miss the playoffs.
That could be interesting. And the other one was the waivers. We have seen it's been put in there that we can have the option to have a monetary value for your waivers. So you get a certain amount of money. You can then bid on players that you want from the waivers. And if you bid the highest amount of money for someone, you get them.
I feel like that will just erupt into absolute chaos, though. I like the idea, but you can guarantee for a fact that myself, Tinch, Johnny, Fred, and maybe yourself, maybe not, us four especially, will sit there when we see someone bid on someone and just up it.
You don't see the bid, the blind bids. Yeah, they're blind bids, and then whoever's placed the most on it wins it. So it's how much you value that person.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I like the concept of it, but again, if we go to a 16-team league, the players that
there's not going to be much on the waivers.
Exactly, the players we can draft for a start are limited, and then you've got to add bidding for players which you might not get. I don't know. I like the concept. I do like the concept, but maybe not for a 16-team league.
Yeah, I think it'd be good. You'd be picking up those players that are coming in to replace the people on IR. Speaking of picking people up off the waivers, there is one guy I wanted to quickly talk about. Adrian Peterson is now at the Seahawks. He's not on anyone's team. Is there any teams that you think might gamble on him and pick him up?
Freddie. I think Freddie will. Again, in a state of panic. I can see, because I think it was last night I got a notification and looked at it and went, I don't need that. I'll bypass that. But I feel like Freddie will claim him. He was asking. He texts yourself and me for a running back. He is desperate. he is desperate. It's Boston Scott. Let's be honest.
Yeah, he's been out of favour over. Sanders is back now. Jordan Howard's getting a lot of the big boy touches, and Kenneth Gainwell's getting in on there as well. So for some reason, Boston Scott's been sort of shunned out despite having good games.
Yeah. I personally think Freddie will go for him. Or who was it last week? It was Tinch, wasn't it, that had running back injuries?
Yeah. He tried to get Devontae Booker off of me last week, but
yeah, he did. The week after he traded me, Eli Mitchell. Tinch might be a shout to pick him up. But who already had him this season and dropped him? Was it Tinch?
Well, no, I think my dad had him. Or
no, it wasn't, because I remember playing somebody.
They had him when he was playing regularly at the Titans, but obviously didn't work out there and got cut. Now he's at the Seahawks, but it could be interesting. You said there was a topic you wanted to touch on. Have we spoke about it, or
sort of? Yes, sort of. It was basically. I'm curious to know, because I've only been in the league. Well, this is my third year. About these not title because he didn't win it, but having a fantastic season and then dropping off afterwards. Obviously, Tinch made the Super Bowl last year. He is now more than likely not going to get into the playoffs. I had a look, and the only worst season was when your dad won the first one and then finished bottom the next year. But it was only 6 teams.
Oh, you've managed to look over the history, from when we first started.
It was only 6 teams. And if Tinch finishes 12th or lower, then that is statistically the worst season anyone's had after getting to the Super Bowl.
Lovely.
So
I like stats like that.
What I wanted to know actually was, out of all the teams that are looking like who you think are going to get in the playoffs this year, who do you think? I know they haven't drafted yet, but who do you think doesn't know enough about fantasy football, has just had luck, and is going to do the worst next year?
That's currently everybody in the league, or currently in the playoffs?
Currently in the playoffs, yeah.
Dicko.
You reckon?
Well, the computer's drafted his team for the last 2 years.
I thought it was just this year.
No, 2 years, I think.
Yeah, but hasn't he made the playoffs 2 years in a row without a computer team?
Yeah, I think if he picks his own team next year at the draft, I mean, bless him, he's got like 4 kids and a wife and a busy job, Yeah. He sometimes doesn't manage to make these things, but he's interactive during the season. He sets his lineups, he picks up off the waivers, he chats to me about it. So he's during the season he's all right, but the computer picks his team. So if he picks his own team, I think he might struggle. Part of that, the names that are in the playoffs currently are always in the playoffs. Yourself, Ben, Matt Kirk, Shank, Freddie. You know, the only other two you'd say is Adam. Is he? Would he? This is his. He tells me this is the first time he's ever done redraft. He's only ever done dynasty, so he didn't really know what to expect from the draft. So maybe now 1 year under his belt, he might pick a bit better. And the other one's my dad. It depends with my dad whether he takes the season seriously before it starts, because when he does and he makes his notes and he brings his yellow legal pad with all of his who he's picking, he does well. But when he puts it on his iPad and just rocks up with his iPad and goes, yeah, don't worry about it, he does bad.
Yeah.
So who knows? What were your thoughts?
I was going to say Freddie, just because it's wishful thinking.
I don't know. I think we'll see Freddie bounce back next year and be competitive again, to the annoyance of everyone. I mean, I'm sure we'd all want him to.
No, I was actually going to go for a pretty controversial one, and I was going to say Ben Gilbert.
Ooh. Yeah.
Do you know why? It's because he's too reliant on the Bucks. That is why. I know he's got Tom Brady and he's got the Bucks defense, and that's all good. However, Brady, I know he's dink and dunk, check downs, short passes, but he's getting older every single year. And you know for a fact that Ben is going to draft Tom Brady in the 3rd round, more than likely.
Wow. Unless Nathan gets there first, you know.
Yeah, that's true. Although I think Nathan will probably want to take Stephon Diggs again in the 1st round and completely neglect running backs.
Oh, it depends where he picks. You know, he's he literally could pick anyone at any time, so everyone's on his radar.
Yeah, but no, Ben, like last year, he started off very strong. He was top of the league after 5 weeks, I think it was, and then he lost about 5 in a row, and then won his last 2 to get in. This year, he's managed to still win games, but not by very much.
Yeah, I think
he seems to drop off over the course of the season.
I think we're seeing another rivalry here. I think you know, along with Nathan, with now Ben, I think you're starting to form your own division in the 16-man league here.
Yeah, I did give
a bit of rivalry brewing. Apparently, there's Texas behind the scene that aren't in the group. You know what's going on there?
Yeah, I did text Ben. I was quite aggressive. I told him next time he comes down, I'll fight him. If he keeps talking how he was, it probably wouldn't go too well for me. But he's all the way in Hereford. What's he going to do from there? Absolutely. So I can say what I want when he's that far away.
I would like to say best of luck this week, mate, but you're playing me and I need the win. So
I don't need the luck anyway.
So, but I will like to say best of luck going into the playoffs, as you have already made it. I think you are deserved where you are, and you would be a deserved champion if you do go all the way. It would be your 3rd final in a row as well. So a bit of a dynasty in your own name there. So best of luck when the playoffs do up round, but hopefully you're not great this week. Thanks for coming on again. I'm sure we will have you on through the playoffs. We're going to try and get all of the guys on, maybe multiples of you in the matchups, have you chatting about your matchup. So we will see your face again on the franchise tag. But till then, thanks for joining us, mate.
Thanks.
And goodbye.